Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line as he does every Friday on the show, Cerveza Cristal.
Beat me to it.
Mike Reyes from cinemablend.com is on the line. Hey, buddy, what are you doing?
Oh, not much after watching those Star Wars ads you told me about.
Should we just start there this week?
Let's just start there. This has been gaining traction. Like, we actually wrote it up on Cinema Blend.
Okay, so the other night I'm sitting around at home and I see this thing on TikTok, and it is one of the commercials. And the long and short of the story is back in 2003, down in Chile, they didn't want to cut to commercial during the Star Wars trilogy, so they took these beer commercials and just stitched them into the movie. So you have like Obi-Wan going to give Luke the lightsaber back, and he opens up a cooler and it's full of beer and Cerveza Cristal.
It's brilliant. It honestly, like, you could do it a little better, but then again, on the other hand, this is Star Wars we're talking about here. People have seen Star Wars millions of times over. Like, this is probably not chances are this isn't your first time watching Star Wars.
I would rather watch Star Wars with these beer commercials than anything else. So the other night I'm sitting around, I'm thumbing through TikTok, and I'm like, this isn't real. Turns out it's real, and it's the funniest story I've seen in a long time.
But I'm guessing what happens is some countries don't want to cut.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
And they just throw it in. It's old school sort of product placement. That's how they used to do it back in the 50s. Like, you would either have a small sort of portion of the show where it's like, we'd like to take a time out to tell you about, the Eagle Hand Laundry. And there was actually,
Drink more
Ovaltine. What, a crummy commercial? Son of a Got your Christmas Story reference there, sir. But yeah, it wasn't as egregious, but there was one point where Sony was changing their sitcoms, like How I Met Your Mother, in syndication. So they would throw in like ads in the background for like certain projects or certain movies or shows. If I'm remembering this correctly, they basically would like go into the reruns and digitally add that stuff to sort of get some more advertising juice.
Well, I will always stand by the best product placement in any movie is Wayne's World.
Oh, I love that game.
I will not bow to any sponsor. I would love to see if Cerveza Cristal, if their numbers just jump this week of everybody wanting that beer.
I think they deserve it. And on top of that, I would love to see them do the sequel trilogy and like Mandalorian with beer ads. I want to see how those would go, especially the sequel trilogy.
The Mandalorian would be easy. It's always Baby Yoda just getting into a cooler.
Fair. That's absolutely fair.
So anyways, Mike Reyes from cinemablend.com on the line with me as we dive into the world of Cerveza Cristal. This week, we actually do have some movies coming out, one of which we've seen, and one of which Mike says is better than he thought it would be. Let's start with Ricky Stanicky. How do you say it?
Ricky Stanicky.
Ricky Stanicky. All right. What's the basis of this movie?
So basically, Ricky Stanicky is a movie about three childhood friends played by Zac Efron, Jermaine Fowler, and Andrew Santino, who ever since one fateful Halloween night in 1999, they have had a go-to excuse for anything they want to get their way out of, and it is the invisible friend Ricky Stanicky. Oh, it's about imaginary friends this week, I guess.
I guess so.
But yeah, it's they basically have an imaginary friend of theirs named Ricky Stanicky who doesn't really exist, but whenever they have to get their way out of something and they want to weasel their way out of in the beginning of the movie, you see them trying to get out of a baby shower when they're all grown up. And they say, oh, Ricky's got cancer. Ricky's not doing so well, so we got to go visit him. And that's just their excuse. And then something comes up where people are really starting to question, okay, where's Ricky? Is he real? Oh, we invited him to the baby shower this weekend. He's going to be in the area anyway. He could stay for another day, right? And they have to hire a guy to actually play Ricky. And they hire this guy named Rod, played by John Cena, who has a very unique act that I'm not going to spoil here, but I know you're going to get a kick out of this. He has a unique nightclub act, and they hire him to play Ricky in real life. and then he feels so good about the one day he did that he wants to actually be Ricky, and shenanigans ensue.
What'd you think?
It was surprisingly good. Like, I didn't know what to expect because it's been a while since Peter Farrelly has done a comedy. I mean, his last couple movies were Green Book and The Best Beer Run Ever, which I've heard not so good things about either of those.
Yeah.
But clearly, you know, this is going back to Stuck on You sort of laugh. Like, it's very much, it has its heart in the right place, and it's sort of just the comedy is there is some gross out comedy, not as much gross out comedy as you'd expect from a Farrelly brother movie, but it does have a nice little heart to it that sneaks up on you, and that's something that they've sort of included in like their later films, where it's like, obviously, like when he was still working with his brother, they were still making movies that were funny, but they were sort of toning down the sort of problematic bits of it, I guess.
Okay.
But it's genuinely, it's fun.
You know what thought I had about this morning when I was thinking about it?
What?
What if this was like a Cable Guy type comedy?
Like if they went dark with it?
Yeah.
They could have. They really could have. And I'm actually a little surprised that they didn't. At the same time, I have no problem with where they took where Peter Farrelly took this.
I don't know why I thought of that this morning, but I was like, man, what if this was like the Cable Guy and like took that dark twist where it's like, okay, now he's a stalker. Now it's, you know, kind of scary what he's doing. And now we can't get rid of, you know.
That's the way you'd probably think it would go. And then you'd probably think, oh, Cena's going to be a total up and just not get anything right. But for the most part, like, Ricky is impressive when he gets into his bag, when he gets into his act.
Okay.
And I was kind of glad that they did that with the character instead of just, oh, you know, he can't get anything right. And it's just bumble, bumble, bumble. It's like, okay, how far can this lie go? Because he's pretty good at this. And I will say John Cena does steal this movie. No question. I mean, there's no bad performances in here, but John Cena just, what they give him with this character and what he does with it lands so perfectly. And they definitely need to release this after the Iron Claw, because that's the only way you would believe Zac Efron is even the slightest threat to John Cena. This movie would have been total science fiction if you didn't have that movie.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I mean, The Rock's been in the news a lot lately, and there's, you know, kind of that rivalry between The Rock and John Cena and some of their past history. I want to go out on I don't know if it's going out on a limb or not, but John Cena seems to be the better actor of the two, right?
Yeah. No offense to The Rock, but yeah, because Dwayne Johnson has chops, but he stays in a specific lane.
Yeah, and I feel like John Cena is more experimental and will do different things and have more fun with it, and like he's not the guy that can't be beat up.
True. Which then just leads us to probably the best wrestler that's acting right now, Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista is very much about his craft, and like the knock at the cabin last year was so impressive because of him.
Yeah.
And the character that he had, where he's just so soft-spoken. It's not the usual big Bautista saying things and going like this. Like, I like that Bautista, but I also like that he's doing stuff like that and Dune, where he's just sort of pushing past that. And he has said in interviews that he loves it when directors really do challenge him and come up to him and say, look, no, I know you can do better. I know you can do this, do this. Like, he likes to be challenged.
Yeah.
And yeah, like pound for pound, I think Bautista is one of, if not the best wrestler to turn actor. I would love to see him and Cena get up to some mischief together. That'd be a lot of fun.
Mike Reyes from cinemablend.com on the line with me. All right. So Ricky's pretty good. This is what I definitely want to see. Over in the world of the animation world, we get Kung Fu Panda 4 this weekend. I know my son and my mom are going to go see it today. You haven't seen it, but I kind of feel like if you like the other Kung Fu Panda movies, this is going to be much the same. I can't imagine them taking a giant turn into a completely different territory.
Yeah, like it's doing decent on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It's still fresh. You got a 72% rating, 79 reviews. Some people are the consensus seems to be that it's not doing anything new. It's cool. But why do Kung Fu Panda 4 when you had Kung Fu Panda 3 deliver things to what seemed like a pretty fitting finale? And then you've got, like, most of the crew is not there. It's Poe teaming up with like a new fox thief played. I think it's a fox thief played by Aquafina, because of this new evil played by Viola Davis who can like copy people's powers.
I really liked the first one. I liked the second one. It wasn't as good, but I didn't hate it. The third one I think I saw, but I don't remember. And this one, it's like, okay, we got another Kung Fu Panda movie.
Yeah, I was really surprised when they're like, yeah, Kung Fu Panda 4. It's like, okay, but then again, I was surprised when they announced Toy Story 4, and I love Toy Story 4. So I'll give this a shot.
So anyways, so if you're into the world of Kung Fu Panda, you're probably going to like this. If not, like I said, I can't imagine them doing anything really creatively different in this. So
yeah. And if you're not into it, Jack Black dropped that Baby One More Time cover finally, like
so
the full
great.
version. It is. We'll talk about that in a little while. We'll save that.
Mike Reyes from cinemablend.com. Here comes the movie that I asked Mike if he saw it, and the response was amazing. We're going to reenact it. Mike, did you see Imaginary?
No.
All right. Why such a strong response to this movie?
First of all, besides that, like the connection with Ricky Stanicky, you have two competing imaginary friend films this year. You have Imaginary and then If.
Yeah.
And they are two different things. You've got Imaginary, which is evil spirit that seems to be attached to its former human best friend, played by DeWanda Wise. It misses her. It wants to be friends again, and bad is going to happen.
Okay.
And then you've got If, which is John Krasinski getting as many stars as he can together, including Ryan Reynolds, with this movie about, it basically looks like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, the movie, which I'm kind of surprised that more people haven't talked about, others calling it out on that, but
yeah.
It looks okay. But the movie looked okay. I don't know what it was about it that it was just like, I'm on the fence. And then the reviews came out, and there's a lot of imagination-based puns. Like, for a movie about an imaginary friend, this movie seems to lack just that, or something like that.
All right, we'll leave it there for that one. Mike Reyes from cinemablend.com on the line. Moving over to the world of movie news, the Oscars are this weekend, and the station I work for, the morning show, summed up the Oscars perfectly this morning.
Okay.
I got in the car, and I was getting ready to come in, and it was on the station, and they said the Oscars are this weekend. They go, really?
Yeah, they are.
And this is not me trying to make fun of it or anything like that, okay?
I know. I know.
And we had this conversation last year about this. I haven't seen anything about the Oscars, commercials, or like a ton of news story. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like it doesn't exist.
I mean, it's out there if you've been looking for it. I mean, especially if you come and read at Cinema Blend. We've been writing about the Oscars and all the award shows leading up to it and what have you. And we will definitely be covering the show as it happens, myself included. But it's been out there. I mean, you could, of course, parlay that into a conversation of, does the public at large really pay attention to the Oscars anymore? But
I think that's more the conversation. I'm not saying your guys' coverage of it is bad or anything, but just the general, hey, did you know the Oscars are this weekend? No.
And also, a lot of people are probably watching streaming now, and I know I certainly haven't seen a lot of ads on YouTube for it. That's probably more general TV.
Maybe. That's
getting the ads for it. And to be completely honest, my one big beef with the Oscars, something that I've had with them for several years now, why isn't the show streaming live? Why isn't the show streaming on Hulu? ABC broadcasts the Oscars. ABC's part of Disney. Disney owns Hulu and Disney Plus. They can do, I'm assuming it's something to do with the rights structure, but they were doing Dancing with the Stars live every week. And you mean to tell me that you can't restructure your deal with the Oscars so it can be streamed live? So people don't have to, literally, you go to the Oscars website right now, and I will tell you what it says. It has when to watch, tune in at the new time of, apparently they're going at 7 o'clock now, so they're like an hour earlier. Ooh, but they're probably adding things to the show that padded out that extra hour, whatever. How to watch. See it for free over the air on your local ABC station. If you're a cable or satellite subscriber, ABC is part of your lineup. Stream it. Subscribe instantly with streaming services like Hulu Live TV, YouTube TV, AT&T TV, and Fubo TV. Many of these services offer a free trial as well. This doesn't sound like something a major awards body should. This sounds like something your friend next door would be telling you. It's like, hey, all you have to do is sign up for a trial and cancel it immediately. You'll be able to watch it, no problem.
Just please
and
watch.
We hear the same stories where it's like, viewership was down, viewership was this. You mean to tell me that you can't make a deal with your conglomerate that has Hulu and Disney Plus to stream this live so people can watch it? And then I'm sure I would think you'd get more people watching and talking about it rather than just, hey, we're just keeping it on TV. Why don't you do a free trial for these other things? You could just cancel afterwards. It's like, no, because people forget about that. And then that you want to upset people and make them more irate. It's like, I have to jump through all these hoops, and now I have to figure out how I'm watching the Oscars like several days before I'm supposed to cover it. Like, even if you wanted to just give journalists, like have a feed for journalists where it's like you can live stream it through here so that way you can cover it because we know you're a publication. Like, okay, do that. But it should not be this hard to watch the Oscars for cord cutters. We are in a cord cutting world. And I know the Oscars are kind of, the voting body has put in more restrictions to sort of curtail more streaming movies, sort of jumping, like sort of leapfrogging into Best Picture because especially after Coda won Best Picture, you can't rewind on an antenna. And if, you know what, if I would not have been able to rewind on an antenna, and when Will Smith slaps Chris Rock at the Oscars, you want to rewind and be like, whoa, what just happened? Although, to be fair, the way that we see the Oscars in the U.S. versus internationally, that just looked like a weirdly edited thing, and we had to go to social media to find out what happened. So there's another,
by the way,
problem that I have.
The rant you just got into about the Oscars, I feel like you're the guy that started out and like I'm trying to pull you out of the room, and you're like, and another thing.
One more problem. Listen to me.
Until the handle breaks off and you have to have a doctor pull it out.
I am not leaving this room until you are converted.
Oh, God. All right. So with the Oscars in mind, what are we, I guess, what's going to be the big story this weekend? Is there anything that's really sticking out as, oh, I can't believe this is going to happen? Or, I mean, because the reaction is always going to be the bigger deal going into, coming out of it. Like, going into it, what are you expecting?
What I'm expecting is, I mean, there's a couple of races that everybody obviously is watching for going into this show. And one of them is the race for Best Actress. Okay. Because you've got Lily Gladstone from Killers of the Flower Moon versus Emma Stone from Poor Things. Those are the two big favorites.
Poor Things on Hulu now.
Yes, Poor Things is now streaming on Hulu. They got that in under the wire. Poor Things is on Hulu. Oppenheimer is on Peacock. Like, I will say, in terms of being able to stream the movies,
it's easier to do than the Oscars.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what movie you're going for. Like, even I think American Fiction's now on MGM Plus. Oh, really? Which I know not many people probably subscribe to that, but I definitely recommend American Fiction. That was a surprise because I thought it was going to go one direction and it went in another lovely different direction. Okay. But I think that's one of the races to look out for. It's going to be Best Actress, and I think /hope Lily Gladstone gets it. And that's nothing against Emma Stone because she was fantastic in Poor Things, but she's got an Oscar, and Lily Gladstone's acting in Killers of the Flower Moon is like a masterclass of reserved stoicism, and then there's moments where she breaks that it just makes it all the more effective. Okay. So that's one of the races that people are watching for. Also, Best Actor, Cillian Murphy versus Paul Giamatti. I'm fine with either of those gentlemen winning, but I am still pulling for Cillian. But if Paul Giamatti wins, I have no problem with it because he's Paul freaking Giamatti.
Mike Reyes from cinemablend.com on the line with me. So we'll dive a little bit more into the reaction of the Oscars next week. Moving on down the line, a little bit of sad news. It's not really movies, but it is. Well, it kind of is because they did make some movies. Sad news from the world of animation and anime. Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama passed away at the age of 68. The news just came out yesterday, but he passed away on March 1st.
Yeah, I just saw that this morning myself.
And if you're like me, I came into Dragon Ball has been around for a very long time. I started watching it when I was a senior in high school. It came on Toonami, and you kind of had to go back and go, what in the f am I watching? But it started back in the original series was 1984 was when it started, and then it finally made its way over to the States, and Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, the movies, and this was a big part of my late childhood and into college. I was really into Dragon Ball, and I still am, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those properties where you'd be surprised to know how long it's been around.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember that it was, Toonami, that was one of the big shows on Toonami that kickstarted everything. And that was, look, you look at the history of anime and how it's broadened into worldwide culture. Dragon Ball Z is one of those shows that has always been a sacred text. Like, you've had Dragon Ball Z's, you have your Pokemon, you have Akira the film, as like one of the big strides that was made. And like they did like limited releases of Dragon Ball films in theaters over the past couple of years, and those have made pretty good money for limited engagements. Like, anime, it helped open the doorway to the world for anime, and like became such a cultural hit that people would start cracking wise at it. But that's just a sign that you've made it. And Akira Toriyama's creation is landmark. And yeah, his death was confirmed by an official statement that said he had a acute subdural hematoma, which, according to the New York Times, is when blood collects between the skull and the brain. And the thing that really knocked me out was I was able to read the report, and then at the bottom it had this little thing that said how the Times decides who gets an obituary. And it says, there's no formula, scoring system, or checklist in determining the news value of a life. We investigate, research, and ask around before settling on our subjects. And they say, if you know someone who might be a candidate, please suggest it here. So clearly that sort of puts an import on having an obituary in the New York Times.
Yeah.
And for Akira Toriyama to have that honor, like you wouldn't automatically think that would be in the New York Times. And I'm glad that it made it there. I'm glad that it was reported there. And that's just a further highlight to what anime means to the world culture.
Mike Reyes from cinemablend.com on the line with me. So, Akira Toriyama, we wish you nothing but the best and the great beyond. By the way, if you are a fan of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, if you haven't gone to YouTube and checked out Team 4 Stars Dragon Ball Abridged, do yourself a favor and go do it. It'll be the funniest thing you've watched in a long time.
Ooh, I will definitely do that. That sort of sounds like a ghost story.
They did cut down episodes of it, right? And they revoice it. Goku is a complete moron in it who loves bacon and eating. Vegeta is the best. I'm going to turn to my left, and you better duck so I don't hit you with my I think I need an adult. I am an adult.
Oh, boy.
I will put it this way. When I first came across Dragon Ball Abridged, I was, Jace was probably 2 or 3. He was playing in the living room doing his own thing, and I was sitting there watching it on my phone, legitimately crying, laughing. That's how funny it is. So,
oh, man.
Yep. Real quick, as we do wrap up this week, Sydney Sweeney, we found out she is hilariously funny.
Well, I mean, I don't think we just found it out.
Just found out. Yes. Like today. Just in, people are funny. It is breaking news that she has a sense of humor.
I mean, definitely not. But the reason I mentioned it was because she was on SNL recently, and some of those sketches were really funny. And one that I wanted to bring up was there's this sketch where the popular cheerleader in school is trying to date Air Bud.
I saw a highlight of it. I didn't see the whole thing, but it looked funny.
Oh, see the whole thing, because the way that she plays this is so brilliant, and the way that they wrote it for her was great because it's like the old Chicken Boo sketches from Animaniacs, and she's like hitting on Air Bud, and at the same time you've got the football players who are like, I can't believe this. Are you really that popular that you have to date Air Bud? And she's like, shut up. You had your chance and couldn't do this, this, and this. And one of the instances of that, the guy's like, yeah, I told you I can't get taller. And just the way that they played it was so fantastic. And Sydney Sweeney's one of those guests that I would gladly watch her go back to SNL. She's up there with like Oscar Isaac and Pedro Pascal. Just there's certain guests that really dig it. And it seems like the writing of this generation of SNL might be something that I guess maybe it's another good era, so to speak, because everybody has their opinions on what's good and what's not with SNL. And I definitely, I want to, Josh Brolin's on this weekend, so I definitely want to check that out.
Mike Reyes from cinemablend.com on the line with me. All right, as we do get ready to wrap up, couple little stories just to finish up with. There's looks like we might be getting another Baywatch reboot. Is this a movie or a TV show?
TV show. Fox and Fremantle, the company that currently has the rights to Baywatch, announced that they're going to do a reboot which is more action-centric and, serious. And already you've had some cast members saying whether or not they would want to be part of the new one. And already there's I think Nicole Eggert said she'd want to be a part of it. Brandy Roderick said she would want to be a part of it. And depending on who these sources are saying that Pamela Anderson is not interested. She's like, it's like on good terms. She sort of left it all behind and would not want to be a part of it, but she has not officially been asked yet.
Okay.
So that's going to be a very interesting story to keep an eye out on.
All right. And finally this week, there's been some rumors and I've seen it pop up at a few different places, but is Disney secretly canceling Marvel projects?
They secretly canceled projects. I don't know about Marvel, but I know they said that they're secretly canceling. They secretly canceled some projects. I think Bob Iger had mentioned it during one of his recent media appearances. I forget if it was like a Morgan Stanley speech or I forget which appearance it was, but I'm not surprised. And I would not say Star Wars movies that were in development that are now no longer. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an announcement that Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie isn't happening, or worst case scenario, Rian Johnson's trilogy is not happening. These are projects that have been sitting on the back burner for some time. And it gets to a certain point where you stall out and no news is bad news.
The couple that I've seen kind of pop up in a couple different places, and again, this isn't like official sort of, this is, social media. So it's got no basis in truth, but it's ones that have some of the names that have popped up. The Agatha series, the Ironheart. What was the other one I saw? It was a lot of the Marvel TV series, especially the stuff that kind of goes along with the that branches off of Secret Wars.
Now, if they canceled Agatha, that would be very interesting because that's already filmed and finished.
And that's what
they just need.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about. That it was kind of the Batgirl situation where it's filmed and pretty much ready to go. They just said, never mind. We'll take the loss on it.
If that happened, then Disney is probably going to land into some hot water with the public, because so far they have not done, that in public opinion, they have not done anything like that just yet. Like if they cancel a project, they just cancel a project outright. You saw that with Rogue Squadron and so many other possibilities that were supposed to have happened. I think that's just rumors. I don't think they would cancel that. It's
some of the stuff that I've seen pop up in multiple spots. It's not like real accredited reporters or anything.
Yeah, they would retool it. They would probably retool the hell out of it. And like I said, they were supposed to have done reshoots at some point early this year. I think they would rather do that than just scrap it completely. Obviously the MCU is in a at a standstill. Well, not a standstill, but it's at a crossroads right now. And you've seen Disney push release dates for like Captain America, like that got pushed to next year.
Yeah.
So they're going to be like, if they wanted to, they probably could have canceled that outright and just wrote it off. But I think what they're trying to do is course correct in a way that they rework what they have in front of them and then change whatever plans are vaporous right now. So if anything hasn't been shot, hasn't gone in front of cameras, like, I don't know if that's the case with Ironheart. That might be a case where you see a project canceled or maybe turned into a movie.
I guess
that seems to be the other move that Disney has been doing, where it's like they'll turn something into a movie versus, oh no, Ironheart was filmed and additional photography is set to take place this year. So
I guess the reason it stuck out to me is because when you go over the last year or so of, especially the Marvel properties, take Star Wars out of it, for the moment. When you look at the Marvel properties, it has not been good. And like, it hasn't been like, oh, that movie was only okay. It's been like, this is some of the worst stuff we've ever watched.
Depending on who you talk to.
Well,
but yeah, it has not been as rosy as it used to be. We're not in the salad days of Marvel. And I think they understand that as a brand, and they're going to try. That's why they're trying to rework things.
And that's why, like, some of those, especially coming off of Secret Wars, it's like, oh my God, if you've got stuff like this coming out.
Well, Secret Invasion.
I'm sorry. Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
But that's more what the point I'm trying to make is why, to me, it seems like, okay, this might be in the realm of possibility. When you have something come out that's as bad as Secret Invasion, then maybe we need to rethink this a little bit,
Yeah, it's, I really don't know what Marvel is doing right now, but I think they're trying to right the ship, and they'll alter plans and they'll rework what they've shot. I don't think Disney's in the business of tax write-offs like that.
Actually, you know what? I know what would save them right now. How they could change these properties.
What?
Cerveza Cristal.
that or taking Hugh Jackman up on his role for being in Secret Wars.
There you go. Yeah, maybe.
Because he wants to do that.
Yeah.
Apparently, like the suggestion is that he's told Marvel he's up for Secret Wars, and I guess that would be depending on how Deadpool and Wolverine does this summer. Because that's going to be a very hotly watched project now.
That's going to be one of those ones that if that's really good, that's going to make a lot of the fans go, okay, we're still okay with you. We're still here. But if that one's bad, you're going to see a mass exodus from Marvel fans and be like, you know what? DC's not that bad.
Well, I mean, that's the next thing. It's going to be interesting to watch is how Superman Legacy does next year.
Yeah.
Which is currently shooting, and like apparently Nicholas Hoult made a crack about reading All-Star Superman and like getting jacked because of it.
All right. Well, let's leave it there for this week. Mike Reyes from CinemaBlend.com joins me every Friday on the show to talk about movies and entertainment. Mike, you have yourself a good weekend, and don't forget to drink that Cerveza Cristal.
Damn it! You beat me to it. You're on fire this week, man. You beat me to it. Because I was gonna be like, yeah, you have a good weekend too. Don't forget to have a Cerveza Cristal.